Hi there, creative Shannon from the Pigeon Design team, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to create a shimmery hand lettered quote on an abstract watercolor background. To get started, you will need some basic watercolor supplies. So you'll need some watercolor paper. You can cut this to any size you want. You'll need watercolor paint, a large paintbrush for your background, and a smaller size brush for your lettering. And if you want to add any details, I'm using the pigeon letters size 6 round as well as a 3-0 round. And finally, you'll need some water as well as some metallic paint or ink. Once you have your supplies, now it's time to get started. The first thing you're going to do is choose your quote as well as the color palette that you want to go with. For this tutorial, I am going to be lettering the phrase "sky full of stars," and I'm also going to be using a galaxy color palette for my background. And when you're choosing your colors, try to use colors that will blend nicely together so that you don't end up having any muddiness. Once you have chosen your quote and your colors, you can sketch your quote onto your paper. I did mine a little too light, so I ended up having to sketch it over later on in the video. So when you are sketching it at this point, make sure that it is going to be visible once you have added your background. So then I'm going to start adding my first layer of colors. So I'm using my large paintbrush to add my first color, which is going to be bright blue. And then I'm going to pick up some water and add it all around the outside of that color. This is a really important step because this will help your colors to blend and bleed together on their own. And then I'm going to pick up some pink and I'm going to add it in that same manner and then use water to blend out the edges. So I'm going for a more abstract background, so I am not too worried about any harsh edges, and I'm not trying to cover the entire background. Now, if you would like to cover the entire background with colors, you can do that. And if you want to have a nice white border, you can definitely apply some masking tape before you start painting and create that clean white edge. So I'm just going to continue adding my two colors all across the background until I am happy with how it looks. And then while that paint is still wet, I'm going to start to build up those colors. So in this step, I'm going to use a darker shade of blue as well as darker shade of pink. And I'm just going to add it to any areas that I think needs to be darker and more intense. And I want to add some texture to this. So while those colors are still wet, I'm going to use my smaller paintbrush to pick up some clean water, and then I'm going to add some water splatters all across that background. This will just create some really nice white blooms and create a really fun texture. You can also use some salt if you'd like. That creates really nice texture as well. And then I'm just going to use some of the same colors that I used for this background to add some splatters as well. Once you're happy with the color, you're going to allow that to dry completely. You can use a heat gun if you need to, or you can allow it to air dry. And then I'm going to use my metallic ink to write out my quote. I'm using Winsor & Newton silver drawing ink, but you can definitely use any type of metallic paint or ink, or even metallic markers or gel pens or paint pens if you'd like. Once you're finished adding your quote, you can add some other details or doodles to finish this piece. So I'm using my liner brush to add some stars, and I'm also going to add some silver splatters as well. And that is it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed creating this really fun project. If you followed these steps, I would love to see how your piece turned out. So feel free to share with me on Instagram by tagging me at by Shannon Lane so that I can see your work.